They switched it. Well, that's right. That's about a minute. Yeah.
Now call to order the meeting of the Winter City Council on Tuesday, March 3rd, 6:30 PM. Tracy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Long. Present. Councilmember New.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Callen.
Here.
Mayor Biazzi.
Here. Thank you. Chief Miller, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have approval of the agenda next.
Mayor and Council, staff is asking that the council add an item, is an urgency item, it can be a consent calendar item, but it's a special event application for a 5K run on March 14th. It won't make it to the next council meeting, so staff's asking that we add this. It's a special event application, just it involves a street closure and some insurance requirements. So if the council could just add that on, I think the city attorney will tell you how to do it.
So this came to the attention of city staff after the posting of the agenda. And so there's a procedure where the city by a 2/3 vote can vote to add an item to the agenda after its posting if they make the determination that there is an immediate need to take action, and it came to the attention after the posting of the agenda. So in this case, we won't hold another meeting until after this event will take place, so there is an immediate need, or else the person can't get the permit, and they come to our attention afterwards. And so that would have to pass by the math of it. 2/3 vote means that there needs to be 4 votes in favor of adding the item to the agenda. So if someone would make that motion, then we could add it to the agenda.
I'll move to approve the added item.
Second. So we maybe the consent calendar or discussion?
You can move it. It's either one.
To the consent calendar.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, any questions, discussion? None? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? None? Passes unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so we've added one item to our consent calendars. Next, we'll move to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Okay. Next, we have council staff comments. Councilmember Long.
All right. February 20th through 21st, I attended the League of California Cities Board meeting in Yamhill. The League Housing Policy Committee asked the board, I'm on the board, to approve a slate of actions to pursue housing. And the approval of the slate is to move forward with discussions with the governor. And the slate is to reduce development costs, to adopt an ADU ordinance, to streamline housing approval process, to develop objective design and review standards, to adopt an inclusionary housing ordinance and establish a local housing trust, restrict demolition of current housing and allow up to 4 plexes in single-family zones. So it's kind of like a negotiating place to move from. It was unanimously approved and sent to the governor's office. The housing policy also asked the league to focus on near-term and long-term housing solutions. In the afternoon, Governor Newsom came and delivered a presentation on homelessness, followed by a press conference. On February 21st, at the league, we mainly heard legislation that might be coming our way. On February 24th and 25th, I met with Councilmember Pierre New and Civic Spark fellow Chris Flores. Pierre and I interviewed possible committee members for the Climate Action Plan. Also, later that day, we both attended the Winners Elder Day Council to organize for Elder Day, which this year will be June 27th, so please mark your calendars. June 27th, 2 to 4 at St. Anthony's Parish Hall. On February 26th, I participated in the 2x2 with the school district, focusing on how they're spending their bond money and the facilities that they're working on and raised. On February 27th, I was fortunate to be a judge on the 2020 Poetry Slam. It's one of my favorite events. It's just a fabulous glimpse into our wonderful youth. February 28th, I met with Mark Kindleberger of Schneider Electric. He was out here to talk about low-cost energy solutions and broadband infrastructure and also microgrids. March 2nd, I met with City Manager John Donlevy to review tonight's agenda, and in the evening, I held a Hispanic Advisory Committee meeting, and that's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Anderson.
Hard to follow.
It was a busy 2 weeks.
I will report that on the Saturday, the 29th of February, I had the pleasure of attending the Fire Police Appreciation Ceremony and dinner at the Fire Police Training Center. And that's end of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember New.
Thank you. On February 19th, I attended Yolo County Housing. We honored two housing tenants who had completed education, and we also spent quite a bit of time on the county housing budget. On the 20th, Thursday, SACOG had a speaker about rails to trails, and that was interesting. Talked about some economic gains for that for cities, but we don't seem to have any rails coming through there anymore. Also at that meeting, there was a big homeless plan was discussed in the governor's budget. On the 24th, as Jesse said, I met planned for the CCAP interviews and also the Elder Day committee that day. On the 25th was CCAP interviews again from 9:30 to 12. And then on the 25th in the evening, I attended part of the Planning Commission meeting. I was interested in lieu fees, and I stayed for that, and that was all I attended. 26th, the Wednesday, the CAP interviews went from 11 to 12:45 and 1 to 3. After that, I met with Dan McGuire again to discuss in lieu fees, trying to get a handle on that. 26th also, spent an hour with a potential investor looking for things in town. And then the next day, I met with Gene Ashdown, talked about the Sidewalk retrofit. Realtor for the church on 2nd and Main stopped by our house because we talked to him one time and we wanted to talk more about it. Saturday evening, attended the Police and Fire dinner for awards and appreciation. And this morning I met with John Dunlevy about tonight's agenda. That's it.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Kellen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. On the 24th, I attended a Youth Day meeting. The 26th, I have a phone conference with the Valley Clean Energy Subcommittee, which I'm part of. And on the 28th, I met with the city manager to review tonight's agenda. And on the 29th, I also attended the police fire banquet. On the 1st, I attended the opening of the veterans display at the Winters Museum. Really nicely done, and a lot of great stories from some of our local veterans. That's all I have.
Thank you. On February 19th, there was a candidate forum, which was sponsored by the Express, and Councilmember Lauren was there, as well as another candidate, Richard Casavecchia. I just wanted to say thank you to the Express for getting that organized, and also to Bob Williams, our moderator for the night, for getting all the questions together and taking care of the meeting. On the 22nd, I attended the Little League Crab Feed, one of their biggest fundraisers of the year that they put on, very well attended. On the 24th, I met with the city manager and Marcia Gibbs and Sandy Vickery at the last council meeting. Marcia Gibbs spoke during the public comment period, and she brought up the Economic Development Advisory Committee report that was put out last year, and wanted to know what was going on with that. So the city manager and I met with her and Sandy Vickery as well, who was on the committee, and kind of went over where we're at on it. We are working with the Solano Economic Development Corporation to try to attract new businesses to Winters. There are a number of things that the recommendations in that report that we can't pursue at this time, or it doesn't make sense to pursue at this time due to the pending initiative that's out there, which because most of the recommendations that are in that report deal with all the north area. So it's all tied together. So we hard to make plans for that area if we don't know what's going to happen out there yet. So it was a good meeting. On the 25th, I met with Bob Folkinghorn to discuss the Keep Winters initiative and where they're at. On the 26th, I attended the Pine Commission meeting where they discussed the affordable housing for the Walnut Lane 10 project, in addition to a historic home on Russell Street, and also Stone's Throw wants to add 7 more duplexes to their development that they're building, which will add some more lower cost housing to Winters. And they also discussed the update of the ADU ordinance so that we can meet the new state laws. On the 26th, I attended the city school board 2x2, where they, as Councilmember Lauren said, they discussed, brought us up to speed where they are on the facilities updates. They also mentioned, we talked about the new buses. They're getting new electric buses, so we'll have all electric buses in their fleet down there. And they also have a vacancy on the board of trustees for the school district, if anybody's interested in running. 29th, I attended the Fire and Police Award Dinner. Alan Panett was honored as Officer of the Year, and Justin Rominger was a Firefighter of the Year. So congratulations to them and to the fire and police departments for all their work that they do. They named all the different things they've done throughout the year, the number of calls they've been on. It's very impressive what they do for our community, keeping us all safe. So thank you. On the 1st of March, I also attended the Winters History Project at the museum where they did a veterans reception. It was very moving to listen to veterans from Winters who went off and served in the armed forces, various branches, and to hear their stories and what they went through, and some of them still suffering from things that they had during their time in service. So it was a good presentation put on by the museum. I appreciate that. It was very good. On the 3rd, I had a conference call out earlier today with the city manager for the agenda review. So looks like everybody's been very busy. Thank you all for your work on these various committees and assignments. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to tonight's public comment period. This is for discussion or for anyone in the audience who would like to bring up anything that's not on tonight's agenda. Just to remind you, these items, we're not allowed to discuss them because they're not an agendized item and they weren't posted ahead of time, so other people would know that they were going to be talked about tonight, but we welcome you to come forward with your items. I have some forms that were turned in already. If anyone else would like to speak that hasn't turned in a form, they're in the back. The first one is Tina Loudon.
Oh, that's me. Why couldn't I be the third one? Tina Loudon, 320 Neiman Street. Hi, everybody, and again, I thank you for all your services. I write it down all the time, and I'm amazed at where you guys go. I'm talking on behalf of the Winters Senior Foundation. We have our wonderful spring luncheon coming in. It's our 5th annual, it's free. It's on Wednesday, March the 18th. And it depends what flyer you look at. Some of them says 11:30 and some of them says 12. So, we're seniors. You do what you want. I thank Wade for his wonderful clam chowder, 4 to 6 gallons, Wade. And Jess for her soup, 4 to 6 gallons, okay. We're having homemade cookies, we're having wonderful soup, wonderful chili, and I invite everybody to pick up a flyer and RSVP. We're at the 50 response mark. We're looking for 100, maybe more. We are going to have the Rickety Ramblers. Yay, there's cake too. Okay. And we are going to have Jenny Tam from the 2020 census. She will be there. So sign up, my name and the email address is here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next I have is Bob Volkenhorn. And I will let everybody know that he did contact me earlier today. He asked if he got a little more time than we normally allow for these comments because he said he's speaking for several people and I said I would allow that to him, so Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Donlevy.
For the record, sorry to.
Oh, yes, Bob Volkenhorn.
Give us your name and
Bob
address.
Volkenhorn, 842 Walnut Lane, Winters. So, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Donlevy, and others from the city, I stand before you tonight representing 200 or 300 people who are part of, who are Winters community members and part of the Keep Winters organization. I'm here to advise you that tomorrow morning, about 10 o'clock, I'll be submitting to the city clerk an initiative that we intend to place on the November 3rd, 2020 ballot. This initiative, if passed by a simple majority, will amend the city's general plan. I signed the submission, as will Corinne Martinez and Emery Van Gouwen. The amendment calls for establishing an urban growth boundary line that is coterminous with the city limit line. It stipulates that any proposed development on land outside this boundary, including the spheres of influence, must first be approved by a vote of the citizens. If the citizens consent, then the development may proceed through the usual channels. If they do not, then such plans will not be allowed to go forward. It is a simple proposition, but a highly consequential one. I want to be clear at the outset that this initiative is not a no-growth initiative. The text of the initiative, as you will soon see, takes absolutely no position on growth. Its sole purpose is to provide citizens the opportunity to make a choice about the future expansion of this city. It gives us the opportunity to have our voices not only heard, but actually to determine whether plans to develop outside city limits can proceed or not. You might ask, how did we get to this point and why is this necessary? I'll explain. So about a year ago, on the basis of a public records request, the Winters Express revealed an exchange between Mr. Donlevy, city manager, and Mr. Jeff Roberts, representing Bellevue North. These letters outlined a pre-proposal that would develop approximately 780 acres of farmland north of the town, the majority of which is located outside the current city limits. $20,000 was given to the city in exchange for work associated with this pre-proposal, and the city received that about that time. The proposal called for doubling the size of Winters through the addition of approximately 2,200 homes and 7,500 people. This was a revelation, to say the least. It's news that sent shockwaves, if you will, through the community. Subsequent to that point, and in city council meeting after city council meeting, people from the Winters community stepped forward at this podium to address all of you. And virtually everyone spoke in opposition to this draft plan and expressed serious concerns on the impacts of the quality of life and about the loss of rich, irreplaceable agricultural land. A city-sponsored meeting then followed at the firehouse in August. The room was packed with people from the Winters community. And to the best of my recollection, not one, not a single person spoke in favor of developing this land or developing businesses on this land or adding an extension of Main Street, now known as the Main Street Loop. In effect, they rejected all of it. This then sets the stage for why we are filing this petition. First, we believe that the collective voices of the people have mattered little, if at all. What has happened as a result of months of public commentary and overwhelming opposition to development in the north? Most feel that their views and voices have largely been ignored or dismissed by City Hall. And even more disturbing, as you heard tonight, the vision for development in the north remains very much in play. Up to this point, the people of the city have trusted the council, city manager, and have worked well within the existing system. And on most things have gone well. But on this matter, and perhaps only on this matter, many Winters citizens have lost that trust. As a result, we believe we have no other option except to file this petition. Reason 2, a vision and a plan of this magnitude requires citizen consent. Consider, if you will, for a moment, the implications of the vision to develop north of town. 780 acres of rich farmland, some inside, some outside the city limits. The vision calls for adding homes and businesses on this pristine land, paving over some of it, or even most of it, irreversibly so, and doubling the population of the city of Winters. The effects on our environment, especially our water table, are potentially devastating. The implications for our schools and public safety systems are unaccounted for and deeply worrisome by all who live here and pay taxes to support these systems. The demands on our infrastructure, roads, parking, traffic would certainly increase with unknown consequences and costs. This vision puts the aesthetic of our wonderful town at risk. Many of the qualities we so appreciate and care deeply about would be compromised if allowed to go forward. We believe that when we have character-changing visions and development on the immediate horizon, which we do now, that the people must be allowed to exercise their constitutional right to vote and consent or not to such development plans. Third reason and final reason. What this initiative will do, if passed, is provide all of us with a new and better process for working and planning together. The people, along with the city, will be able to discuss and negotiate directly with planners and developers. I'm envisioning collaborative models where citizens are at the table as full partners. Organizational research in this country and abroad makes it clear that models such as this are far more likely to result in better outcomes and with much more buy-in by key stakeholders, in this case, the citizens. We are prepared to work with the city manager, the city council, the planning commission to bring these models to life. Passing this initiative creates a compelling rationale for real collaboration on the future of our town. Please note that many of the people supporting this initiative are longtime citizens and respected community members in this town. Many are the very same people who have served this city on prior planning commissions, economic advisory boards, project playground, Hispanic advisory council, and even some on former city councils. They are business owners and they are Winters farmers. These people, all of them, love this town and the land and want to preserve what makes it great. Virtually everyone on the Keep Winters committee supports the need for housing, especially affordable housing. There's no question about that. More than support it, we're willing to work to make it happen. It's imperative that it happen. It's a very clear priority and we cannot fail. I'll say it again, we're not no road. I'm very near closing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I want to reiterate my respect for all of you. You've done some amazing things, every one of you, for a long time in this city, and all of that is recognized and appreciated. However, we have a significant disagreement on matters of vision and the role of the citizenry in highly consequential decisions related to the very character and quality of our life in this town. I'll come before, my last paragraph, I'll come before you again once the city attorney, Mr. Walsh, writes the ballot language and we collect the necessary number of verified signatures to qualify for the 2020 ballot. When I come back, you, as a council, will have an opportunity at that time to adopt the language of this initiative and incorporate it into the general plan. I'm willing to sit down with you then and now and any time between to discuss how to make this work in the best interest of our citizenry and the city. If you choose not to develop the initiative, then it will go forward and be on the ballot in November, and the people will decide the way forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I have Patty Rosenberg.
Patty Rominger, 23756, County Road 89. When you first drive into Winters from the south, the first thing that you see after crossing the bridge is a tractor. A tractor. A tractor that reminds us that Winters is and always has been an ag town. Winters' history and heritage are rooted in agriculture. Just as early farmers such as John Wolfskill supplied fresh fruits and vegetables to the miners who came looking for gold during the gold rush, so too do the many family farms surrounding Winters today, some 5th and 6th generation, provide our world with food and fiber. Keeping the ag and agriculture is crucial. I hear a lot of people in this county talking about the need to preserve our precious farmland, but their actions speak louder than their words. Just take a look at what's happening in West Davis on Hutchison Drive. That land given to UCD was supposed to remain as ag land in perpetuity. Drive by it today. It's being paved over for student housing. Ag land no longer. It's some of the best soil in the world. It's death by 1,000 cuts. That's the story of agriculture in Yolo County today. Doubling the size of Winters will fundamentally change the character of Winters. Paving over more precious ag land will do the same. I'd like to see that tractor that greets newcomers coming over the bridge symbolize our town's current reality as an ag town, not as a past relic of what once was and no longer is. Keep Winters farming. Keep Winters farmland protected. Keep Winters, Winters.
Thank you. Next, we have Peter Spar.
Peter Spar, 105 Riverview Court, and I'd like to thank you all for your service. But also I'd like to say today, I know you all want to get home because it's Super Tuesday. It's democracy in action. And what we're asking for as Winters is to have democracy in action. If it's good enough to elect a future president, it should be good enough to have future growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Rebecca Friday.
Rebecca Friday, 112 Levi Village Court. I'm here on another issue. I'm here about sidewalks. 2 months ago, I was walking down the street and I tripped on the sidewalk. And I rolled my ankle and it hurt and I walked it off and I was okay. 2 weeks later, I did it again. 3 days ago, I did it a third time and I decided I needed to come talk to somebody about it. Walking around Winters, we have a parking problem. Nobody wants to park downtown, so I walk downtown. I walk to the grocery store. I walk places. And the sidewalks are bad. And I would like somebody to do something about it. So that's what I'm here for. I would like council, direct city staff to perhaps look into it and see. And I know you fixed some of the places, There were some terrible ones on Main Street a while ago near Al's house that they fixed, but there's an awful lot of really bad ones.
You
And
missed the worst one though.
they did, I know. And it's hard, and I know you're strapped for things, but maybe with the tax from the new hotels, you could help do something for the people that live here in town that walk around. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment tonight? Looks like we have one more, two more maybe. Craig McNamara?
Good evening. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you this evening. You know, I think about the 40 years that my wife and I have lived in this amazing community, appearing before city council meetings, participating in building playgrounds and doing farm to school activities. And I often think, what makes our community so unique, so special? Is it the bounty of farmland that Bob spoke about? Is it the incredible watershed of Pewter Creek that this community has worked so diligently on? The U.S. City Council members and city planner have done a great job in conserving. Is it the beauty of the Berryessa Hills? It's all of those, but what really it is, it's you, it's us, it's the community, it's the people of this town, it's the history of Winters, Mr. Winters, of Wolfskill. It's what brings us all together. It's the Latino community, it's our visionary business leaders. I think you really captured it well tonight. We're here to work together as a community. I'm so proud of this community. I drive around this state. I was the president of the California State Board of Food and Agriculture, selected by the governor and representing the Secretary of Agriculture to bring the issues of agriculture to the governor. So I've had a chance to travel around the entire state. There is no community like ours, and you know it because you are here. Many of you were born here, and you're all dedicated to it. I so believe in what we're doing with Keep Winters Winners. I've been involved in many, many initiatives. I started the Orderly Growth Committee in Solano County. Orderly growth, that's what we all want. And we want affordable housing. We want a community that is robust as it is today. I was so proud at the community meeting that held the Palms about a month ago. And I want you all, when you have time, I know your city council meetings demand so much of you, have a look, listen to this community, listen to the stewards, the multiple people, the voices that are leading right now. I'm very proud to be part of this. I'm proud of your service. I'm proud of our city manager. And let's keep Winters winners and to a bountiful future for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate Walsh, I think you had your hand up back there.
Kate Mathers, 400 Morgan Street, number 21. And it is the beginning of March, and my recently chlorinated hair and I are here to say hooray for the swimming pool and for our opening lap swim for the 2020 season. And so adult lap swim started last night. Times and costs remain the same as last year, so the times are 6 to 8 p.m. on Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11 a.m. Cost is $50 a month or $5 a day. Passes, new slick pass, is available at the finance department here at City Hall, which is the only difference is you have to buy it there. And so there are some very big thanks to pass along, and I'd like to very much start with Diana Tafoya, who's put in a lot of work to make this happen. And thanks also to Tracy Jensen, City Manager John Donlevy, Councilmember Pierre New, who I know met with a number of people, including lap swimmers Federica Beatrice and Sally Brown, and very much to the Public Works Department, who's put in a lot of work to get it so that the pool was ready to go, including putting in some really fantastic new deck lights that light up right away instead of taking about half an hour to warm up. And it looks like they're LED and energy efficient. And so we started the season off last night with 9 or 10 swimmers, even though it was still blowing pretty great guns out there. And there was a crew out there when I left to come tonight's meeting. And one of the swimmers, Mona Biasi, asked me to pass along her thanks as well for this. So thank you. It's a fantastic resource for the city, and thanks to all who helped get the pool open again this year.
Thank you, Kate. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. Thank you, everyone.
All right, Mayor and Council, just a couple of items tonight. Item A are the minutes from the regular meeting on February 18th. Item B is the street closure request for the Buckhorn Classic Car Show, and commitment to request today people want to be vendors of this thing, so I gotta figure out how that's gonna work. Item C and D are part of a little internal reorganization we're doing. One position we need to do a reclassification on because basically increasing job duties. The second with that involves, we just want to add a part-time position to help us to backfill on a couple of things. It's a 20-hour position that'll help some of the clerical and calendar work. Item E is an issue, is authorization for the issuance of request for proposals for municipal banking services. It's been over 20 years since the overall last review. Really, some of the things that we're looking at is need for a real solid municipal partner. I realize that many of the things that are available to not only the city, but also businesses and property owners need to go through banks. And there are a lot of programs and things out there that we are desperately in need of. And for local financing, part of our succession planning with the city has us modernizing a number of processes. A very good example is the new building permitting system, which actually allows for a lot of online stuff that we need to do. So this will be an RFP that we would like to send out. Final item is the High Day 5K on March 14th. And yeah, I don't think it's going to be a legit 5K. I think it's going to be a 3.14 mile run that we're going to do. This is actually a senior project or capstone or whatever they call it for a very nice young lady that I've known her entire life. Her name is Amelia Orozco. There's going to be a very short street closure on this. There's a little bit of improvement we need to do for the application, but we do need the council to approve the application and the permit, and we will shine it up and have it ready to go on March 14th. And that is the consent calendar.
Okay. Questions on the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
for property location, I'm not going to participate in item B, car show.
Okay, so Councilmember Anderson will not be voting on consent item B, car show. Other comments? I would just like to make one comment on, just for people's information, the part of the two items dealing with the records clerk positions. And part of this is part of our succession planning and putting people in place to replace some of the job duties that other people are doing now and will be leaving, retiring soon. So this is part of the plan to cover that.
Move to approve the consent calendar with the added items.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone in the public who would like to ask any questions on the consent calendar? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have a presentation from YC Parmia.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself and briefly talk about YC Parmia, the Yolo County Public Agency Risk Management Authority. It's a long name, so we're just getting used to that. I've been the CEO Risk Manager since April, so I thought it's a good time to go to our member agencies and present what's happening at YC Parmia, who we are, and how we can help. So allow me to. Okay, so in 1970s, public agencies were facing with a lot of challenges in the insurance market. So from year to year, they were challenged with price hikes and uncertainty of coverage, deductibles, limits, And it really would take a really professional risk manager to manage those variables for the city. But also, as far as the financing part of it, it was very uncertain times, and that's what public agencies are not equipped to deal with. Your mission is to provide services to community rather than deal with the insurance market. So in late 1970s, a lot of public agencies joined hands and they kind of set up the movement towards the risk management pools through Joint Power Authority arrangement or other arrangement. So YC Parmia was created to cater to Yolo County public agencies in 1979. City of Winters is one of the five founding members in 1979. And we are very appreciative of this partnership with the City of Winters. I just wanted to make sure that I convey the message that our organization is catering only to Yolo County public agencies is a perfect example of local public agency control and collaboration among government agencies within the Yolo County. So there's a Swedish proverb that is basically talking about what I just said about the 1970s, that the best place to find a helping hand is usually at the end of your arm, and this is why the JPAs were created. I want to also emphasize that not only JPA or pool insurance pools were applicable and efficient in 1970s, they continue to be relevant, and they're more relevant than ever in the past. Since the insurance market has turned towards, again, a hard market where insurance premiums are increasingly going up in a faster pace than we've seen in the last 10 years. And as well as a lot of insurance companies are pulling out of the market to provide insurance coverage to public agencies, even at much higher limits that we are going out and buying. And that's due to mostly to lawsuits and settlements in recent past that have really spooked the insurance companies. So what I'm trying to say is that we were relevant in the 1970s. We've saved taxpayers and public agencies millions of dollars over the years, and we are relevant today. So having said that, we go through this presentation really quick, but please stop me anytime. I think it's more valuable to have an honest dialogue and answer your questions than go through the just presentation. So we are a separate entity. We are not for profit. We are managed and owned by you guys, by our public membership, which are 32 public agency members. 6 of them are voting members, including the City of Winters. So as I said, public entities are co-owners of YC Parmia. We have a governing board. Each entity, each of those six entities that I mentioned, City of Winters, Davis, West Sacramento, Woodland, County of Yolo, and as part of Unified School District, they have representatives at our board. So the board for YC Parmia sets the policies, goals, objectives. My job and my staff job is to execute those policies and objectives, and obviously provide the services to the community and public agencies. So every one of our agencies that is participating in the pool has a vested interest in the pool. So relationship between YC Parmia and our members is partnership, and it's a long-term commitment to one another. It's not like an insurance company that you buy insurance 1 year and their motive is only to make money, profit. We are a non-profit organization. There is no profit motive over there. We are just to serve the community and our public agencies. So I want to make that very clear. So contributions that every one of our public agencies make to YC Parmia, including City of Winters, help to pay claims for everybody in the pool. So it's a joint effort for everybody. Our basically mission and function is to decrease the financial risk to the taxpayer so that you can focus on your main mission to help your constituents and provide services that you're supposed to. So this slide is basically talking about the history of savings. So typical insurance company, they add about 20%, 15-20% profit margin. We don't have that profit margin. Typical insurance company, they spend a lot of money on brokerages and middlemen to advertise. We don't spend any money on that unless we have to in the insurance market to go buy excess insurance. We don't spend that money. And also typical insurance or commercial insurance has a lot of fees and taxes that actually are built into the premium that you pay. So just even looking at those savings that I just mentioned, the typical saving to public agencies participating in our risk pool is somewhere between 25 to 45%. In addition to that, you don't have to hire many risk management or insurance professionals because we are really acting as extension of your teams. We are here to serve, to provide advice and to help you out with the claims. So that's also providing a lot of additional service to the community and to public agencies, including City of Winters. So as I mentioned, we are member-owned, member-governed, and member-driven. It's local control, as I mentioned, is exemplified in our relationships. So since everybody has a vested interest in our organization, and everybody has a voice at the table rather than like insurance companies. And typically what's not in my presentation, I want to emphasize that if you deal with insurance companies, their stance with the claims is first to deny the claim, reject the claim, and do everything they can not to pay you. We are exactly opposite. Our job is to provide you the broadest coverage available based on the memorandum of coverage that actually is approved by the board. So it's the collective intention of the membership, that what they want to provide to the membership and what they want to pull. So our stance is to give the benefit of the doubt and to cover the members as much as possible unless something is clearly excluded from coverage. So, and finding that kind of coverage is almost impossible. And as I said earlier, my job and my staff job, which is 6 of us in total, is to execute the policies and objectives of our board. So you might ask what kind of safeguards are in place, because YC Parmia is not only a risk management advice shop or claims handling shop, but also a financing mechanism. We have some of your money as reserves for the claims that have occurred in the past, and you want to make sure that money is safe, that is spent prudently, and so we go through very rigorous set of audits and all kind of best practices and guidelines. So we have financial audits every year. We have LAFCO, which is the local agency commission, and we had that review a few months ago. We have also a couple of very honorable or gold standard risk pooling national and California entities, which actually go through a rigorous review of our policies and guidelines that we have in place, and they're certified. And we have the best of the basically certification from both agencies. And I think both of them are valid through 2021. So I've listed over the AGRID and also TJAPA. Latest development, as I mentioned, I joined YC Parmia in April 2019. I'm very honored to serve the community. This is really my passion, and just experienced 25 years in insurance, pooling and risk management. And this is just a combination of everything that I've worked in the past for. So I really appreciate the opportunity. So we also retained a general counsel in 2019. The reason we did not have a general counsel in the past was because our previous CEO for about 24 years, I think, he was an attorney, even though he was not a practicing attorney. So he didn't feel that we needed a general counsel. But since I joined, and I'm not an attorney, we have a general counsel, and she currently is reviewing all of our policies, JPA agreements, bylaws, and everything. And periodically, I will provide updates to the YC Parmia board review. Our website scores very high as far as transparency. Actually, I've not seen any other JPA in California that has as clear and as much of information that is on our website. One of the observation of LAFCO last year was our transparency rating was low. And since I started with the organization, that has been my aim, because my personal style is to be very, very transparent in everything that we do. State of insurance market, as I mentioned earlier, we are facing a hard insurance market. For about 10 years, insurance rates were decreasing year over year up until about 2-3 years ago. And it started to turn down, and it has continued unabated. And unfortunately, we have to pass some of this cost to taxpayer, to public agencies. Most of the monies or cash contributions that our members make to YC Farming actually stays with YC Farming. About 20 to 35% of it goes to excess insurance market. So even if you get an increased bill from us, it doesn't mean that necessarily that money is spent. It means that our actuaries think that a little bit more money is needed to deal with the claim. And hopefully, if you're successful managing those claims better than the actuary thought, the money stays with YC Farming and we can pass it back down to taxpayers and public agencies. Any questions so far on any of this? So our response to hard insurance market is everything we can do to proactively manage risk, to help other entities understand their risks better, to identify trends. And since I've started, every month, every week, we've provided additional information to our members. Recently, we started a monthly loss run and loss analysis to our members. It's a public record. I encourage you to receive a copy of that. If you don't have it, you can email me and I'll send it to you. So it's basically talking about our members. On each page you will find it's talking about all the losses that came in or claims for the year on workers' compensation and general liability. And it's an analysis of where the loss is coming from. Are there alleged dangerous conditions? Are there alleged police matters or other matters? So this is like a proactive risk management style, and I'm very excited about to take this further in the next few weeks and months and go to my member agencies and actually have more specific action plans and specific analysis for city managers to consider implementing or to embed in their plans. We have also increased the training that has been available traditionally to our members. And me and my staff, we are more than happy to come to council meetings or the cities or the public agencies and provide our take on stuff. We are also actively participating in safety committees when we are invited to. So next two slides are two slides related to, first one is the liability claims for the last 10 years, from 2010 through 2019 for the decade. So as you can see how City of Winters measures up against other entities. But obviously City of Winters is much smaller as far as scale. So reported payroll to us is about $4.4 million, which is about 2% of the pool. So it's smaller in scale, so obviously your losses are fewer. In last 3-4 years, my observation is that alleged unsafe situation, or let's call them dangerous conditions, are a little bit higher in City of Winters than our membership. But we're going to get to the bottom of it to see where the opportunities are to make it safer, and we go from there. However, the dollar amount of losses have been not bad at all. So the highest amount to 10 highest amount liability that we have paid out that ranged between $20,000 to $55,000. So what I'm trying to say that City of Winters, luckily for the pool, we haven't had a catastrophic loss that required a lot of funds. So that's a great thing. But I see a little bit of more frequency on opportunities to make places safer. So that's on the liability side. On the workers' compensation side, City of Winters does well. However, this last 2-3 years, we have gotten a little bit more expensive claims than usual. And for that matter, for next year's renewal, average pool member will get about 26-28% increase in their rate. City of Winters will get about 45% because of those past, recent past larger than usual claims. And it's not also unusual that most of the high cost claims are injured employees from the peace officer department. So fire and police department, these are women and men that are out there basically saving our lives and protecting the community. But their claims tend to be more expensive than others because, over time, they're dealing with equipment and heavier stuff that they wear and, they're like lower back damages and stuff like that. So top 10 claims on the workers' compensation for City of Winters are from police officers. And I'm not saying that to just, and it's across the board for all other members as well. So it's not unusual. So this is my brief presentation about YC Parmia and who we are. I just want to make sure that nobody thinks we are a secret organization back there or anything like that. We are basically member-directed organization directed by you guys. But policies are set by the board. Usually when a claim happens, my fiduciary duty is to the pool. I'll do the best for my member, which is involved. But end of the day, we will do the best for the collective benefit of the pool. So that's my presentation tonight. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Questions?
Yeah, question. First, I want to thank you for your presentation and your thoroughness on a subject I think is not always the most exciting for everybody, but I really appreciate it. My question doesn't have to do with the workman's compensation claim or risk, but in considering risk transfer liability, you mentioned police and fire. What is the third overall trend for YC Parmia, aside from police and fire?
Sure. So most of claims, liability claims, can be attributed to 3 or 4 major categories. Auto accidents, they're very costly, and sometimes when I said police officers or police officers, they're rushing to the scenes sometimes, and inevitably sometimes they get involved in accidents, and those accidents are expensive. So motor vehicle accidents are a very expensive segment of liability losses. Another segment that we get around 45% of all of our losses from is alleged dangerous conditions. So there are opportunities to actually work on those. Our police departments are typically very well trained. They have Lexipol access through YC Parmia, and they are actually subscribing to additional training. But obviously, when the trainings become available, we always communicate and work with one another to elevate those. So police matters obviously are expensive matters. It's like either allegation of excessive force or false imprisonment or something like that. But City of Winters doesn't have those, so that's really good. But as I said, the top 10 claims that you have, but most of them I would say they're allegations of dangerous conditions. So.
Any other questions? So I think, thank you for your presentation. I think we are fortunate, I think, to have this pool. If we had to go out and buy insurance on our own as a small city, I think it would cost us a lot more than we currently pay. So
we are very
I'm
happy.
glad that this was put together back in 1979. We have this pool. We're in there with some much larger entities, the county, Davis, West Sacramento, things like that, which helps us out in the long run. So.
I'm sure. Thank you. And I want to emphasize that Mr. Don Levy and also Chris Bolzard is our board members, and they're doing a wonderful job to be involved and to actually elevate what's set YC Parmia apart from others. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have the city manager report.
Just a couple things. To the investment in the budget and the investment and treasury reports that we have. A little bit of good news. The best news is that we're tracking right with all of our revenues and where we think things are going. I was sharing with Councilmember New this morning that you sit there and you make budget estimates. The past couple of years have been pretty tough. And the fact that we are kind of hitting our marks a little bit, it's not that our revenues are overflowing, they simply are not. But the good news is that we're hitting our economic indicators that we thought that we were going to get to. So that's always good. And fluctuations are meaningful on our property tax. We got the property tax, our first payment, which came in at 52% of where we thought it would be, which is a good thing. Halfway through the year, super important. The fact that a 2% bump's okay. We don't know where things are going to happen with our May payment, but overall, when the revenue hits somewhere where we thought it was going to be, that was good news. So I'd encourage people to take a look at it. Basically, two things. Staff's working still on the Chromium 6. So today, State Water Resources Control Board met, and the staff has put hexavalent chromium as one of their #1 topics. So that's good for them, probably not so good for us. An economic white paper came out. There's lots of omissions. I'm going to be putting together a pretty extensive rebuttal to that. Unfortunately, there was the lawsuit. We won the lawsuit. They went through. They've basically done a drill on this thing. Nothing very meaningful. The way that I've now met with each member of the board, and the reality is the train's going to start leaving the station on this thing. Probably the biggest thing that we really need to emphasize will be treatment methods. The ionic exchange method is what was brought before the city council. We're already into this for about $200,000. Ionic exchange will cost us somewhere between $35 and $40 million. The one thing that it'll do is absolutely cripple us from a financial standpoint. I like to. There's not a whole lot of difference between the city's financial standing and anyone else. When credit rating agencies look at you, they look at all of your credit cards, not just one. And in our case, we have financing and debt is a very important tool that we use, and we use it. We use it for redevelopment. We've used it for our water and sewer. And the idea of putting $40 million on top of that would probably completely lock up our financing. I tell everybody, I don't know who would be stupid enough to loan us $40 million for a process which doesn't produce a single drop of additional capacity in our system. So that means that it would be very serious. The typical consumer, one of our customers here in Winters, would see their rates go up probably just in the base, $150 a month, as we've been kind of playing with some things. The overall impact on a statewide basis is almost $2 billion worth of need just to address the chromium, hexavalent chromium. So there is an alternative method. It's called stannous chloride. The stannous chloride method, though, introduces tin. And anytime you're introducing something into the water, there are red flags that just go up. I can tell you that our regulator from the Department of Drinking Water has already told me there's not a snowflake's chance that they will allow us to even do a pilot program on stannous chloride. So as we approach things moving forward, we need to make arguments to our regulators and mostly to the board that they need to come up with an economical option for how we deal with this. Not easy. Mentioned in my Friday update about our planning planning projects list. We met last week on this. Our SB2 projects, we're working, we've got SB2, we've got our housing element, we've got climate action plan, stuff that we're working on. We're gonna try and come up with a work plan, and I'll bring that to the council, for everybody now. We'll also probably crash it into the planning commission also, just to get a little bit of that input and get people on the same page. And finally, Councilmember New mentioned Rails to Trails, and that program is an offshoot of what they call the California Trails Foundation. It's something that was a collaborative effort between the state of California and private people that wanted to create a better pedestrian orientation. And there was a gentleman, his name was Tony Look. And Tony is a legendary man in California. He was, creating trails before it was cool to create trails on things. And I will share with you that the first $10,000, our first project that we did, when I came here, was the railroad trestle bridge. And Tony looked, he lived over in one of the Davis retirement villas. And, one of the options was to take down that trestle bridge. That was one of the options. And he was a guy that he walks in one time and he had $10,000 that the state said that they would give us. And that was the impetus for project number one, because we didn't have any money to do anything with it. But Councilmember New brings up that the man who literally was behind all of that, Tony Look, unfortunately, Mr. Look, we started, that project was completed in 2006. And unfortunately, Tony Look passed away just literally months before that project was done. If you go out on the bridge, there's a plaque and Tony's name is on it. And very nice man, and you talk about people who have made a difference. The Rails and the Trails stuff is huge all throughout this state. And anyway, so just a little bit of how some things happen. And that's it.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to the city manager for all the stuff you've been doing. I know we have a lot on your plate, and throwing this Chromium 6 in addition to everything else we have going on. I know it's a lot for you, so thanks for going. He's going and he's representing Winters and other small towns like us who will be severely affected by this Chromium 6 issue if it gets implemented. The cost to small communities will be huge, and so he's representing all of us, so thank you. So on that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:37. Thank you, everyone.
Here's my decision card. If you like, why don't you contact me at some of the locations on the, send me an email.
Well, you know what, that's why I'm here. And I wanna see Tina dance. That's what I
Really? Yeah. We're pulling most of our water from 600 feet. Yeah, so they would have, that would have.
Question for you. Sure. What is it like a town hall thing?
My name's
Like,
Rodney.
Tony.
Yeah, contamination.
So, oh, perfect. She's got like a political class she's taking. She's got to do like a town hall. She's got to go to a town hall for the declaration.
Sure, so, yeah, the whole point for the essay was basically that there's supposed to be like different programs that the council can discuss.
Right.
And see if they can get
Right.
some-
Right, so you just missed it because they just didn't have anything to vote on.
Oh, so it was this.
Yeah.
But this-
Well, that was. They did not too controversial. They just had nothing to vote on.
Right.
So this would be the nice.
Yeah.
Aaron Brock, so they have two.
So the next one they might have to.
They might. So if you go online, actually, to city council agendas, published, yeah, so it's published about a week out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.